This is Real Housewives of the Kingdom, a sweet space where you'll hear from the hearts of fellow housewives in the kingdom of God. Some just like you and some really different in various walks of life. We will talk about how God is walking with us through the good and the hard. I pray you'll be encouraged and entertained as we laugh and sometimes cry together. Most of all, I hope it reminds you we're in this together and you are not alone. Hello everyone and welcome back to Real Housewives of the Kingdom. Today is second in my series on hospitality and being a hostess or having the heart of a hostess. My first episode that I did on this is episode 9. You can go back and listen to it. And in episode 9, I focused really on having intentionality in your hostessing. And I did talk a little bit about atmosphere in that one, but I didn't really dive kind of deeper into it. And so today I want to dive deeper into atmosphere and functionality. So let's get started. So the atmosphere in your home is something that doesn't just happen when you have a guest over. The atmosphere in your home is something you cultivate day in and day out. And fortunately or unfortunately, the people who come and visit your home will be able to sense what kind of atmosphere is in your home on the regular. So that's why it's important, even when you are just in your home with your family, that you even practice these things of creating an atmosphere that is welcoming and loving, because that will spill over into anyone that visits your home. Atmosphere, the word atmosphere means the pervading tone or mood of a place, situation, or work of art. Atmosphere can create either a feeling of peace or unrest, joy or sadness, hope or despair. No matter what your guests are feeling when they walk in, you want them to feel loved and at peace, and that not only that you've thought of them, but just a space that they can kind of get away from the world and the cares of the world. At least that is what I strive for when I have guests over at my house. Some of the things that I do as a host is, there are music. We talked about that in the last episode on hostessing and hospitality. Picking a good soundtrack definitely sets the tone. Having your house smell nice. These are all things that create an atmosphere, but ultimately you want your heart needs to be there, and that is the most important thing. In Proverbs 14:1, it says, "A wise woman builds her house, but a foolish one pulls it down with her hands." So we have a lot of power with what we do in our homes. Proverbs 21:9 says, "Better to dwell in the corner of a housetop than in a house shared with a contentious woman." And another word for contentious is antagonistic, combative, testy, argumentative, and disagreeable. So not only do you not want the people who live in your home to rather they lived on the corner of a roof, but you also don't want your guests to come in feeling that way either. And I don't know about you, but I have been in homes that were just so wrought with tension that you could just cut it with a knife. There's no candle so fragrant as to hide the stench of a home filled with dissent. And so just keep that in mind, that all of your external efforts to make things look and feel nice won't really matter if you haven't already created a good atmosphere in your home to begin with. Something else that I believe is important is to watch out for apologizing about your space. So I feel like when you apologize profusely, it makes your guests feel like they are a burden. Like you didn't have enough time to make it what you wanted it to be for them. And it has a tendency to make people feel like, oh, well, maybe I should have come if you feel like your house isn't really ready for me. So it's okay that your house isn't perfect. It's okay if you didn't have time to even do the dishes from breakfast or whatever when a friend comes over. But just staying focused on the important part, which is the welcoming of your guest. And that also kind of goes back to what I talked about in episode 9 with intentionality and keeping your guests in mind and not worrying so much about the perception of your home or making it look a certain way or just even your own image, but making sure your guests just feel comfortable and loved. And I feel like one of the ways that can kind of make them not feel that way is overly apologizing for, for the state of your home, especially when you have a clean house, which I feel like happens all the time. And I don't know if it's a societal thing where we feel like, it's a thing that we have to do when people come in. Oh, I'm so sorry. It's so messy. And, or even if we did miss something and we continue to kind of go over that thing over and over again. I've been in friends' homes that didn't have time to pick up, and I felt so welcome and loved, and it didn't matter because I was there to see them, not their perfectly cleaned home. So that is a good thing to keep in mind. So one of the ways that we can learn about atmosphere is obviously God's example to us. And I just love thinking about the fact that God created the earth that we live in. And there's so many elements that He has created in the earth that make us feel comfortable, loved, at peace, beautiful. There's so much intentionality behind what God created. The rain comes and waters the trees which grow. The trees give us shade in the summer and oxygen to breathe. Beautiful flowers bloom and give us small glimpse into our Creator's creativity. The first crisp breeze after a long hot summer is so refreshing. The feeling you get when you are at the beach, hearing the waves crash, and the feeling of sand beneath your feet, the birds chirping, or a creek trickling. These are all things that are sounds, sights, feelings, and smells. And that is what God has done in nature, in the earth, as He created it. So these are the kind of things that I like to keep in mind for my home. How does it sound? How does it smell? How does it feel? All of these things is there something beautiful to look at? And those are all things that make me feel welcome here on God's earth. And so I believe it's something that makes people feel welcome in my home. And additionally, in His presence, in God's presence, we feel His peace and His love and His grace. And that is something that I always pray that I'm extending to the people who walk in my door. I want them to feel that I have grace for them in any place that they need it. And I want them to feel at home and have peace in my home as well. While having a clean and decorated home is not everyone's strong suit, also being lazy is not good either. So you don't want to be lazy and then your guests come over and now all of a sudden, because you were lazy and because you binged 8 episodes of a TV show last night instead of preparing for your guests. Now, sometimes we all need rest, and I binge TV shows too, and I take times of rest when I need it. But that's an important thing that we have to come to the Lord and ask Him to show us if that is something that we are dealing with. And it's something that I really try and make sure that I come to the Lord with on a regular basis, because I want to make sure that I am not being lazy. In Proverbs 12:27, it says, "The lazy man does not roast what he took in hunting, but diligence is a man's precious possession." By taking time to care for the things God has entrusted to you with a willing heart, you are creating a beautiful atmosphere in your home. And it will radiate from your soul whether you've had time to do your breakfast dishes or not. So keep that in mind. Sometimes I have to recenter myself. So I can get overwhelmed by things and I can get priorities out of whack. And so I really love in Philippians 4:8-9, it says, "Finally, brethren, whatever things are true, whatever things are noble, whatever things are just, whatever things are pure, whatever things are lovely, whatever things are of good report, if there's any virtue and if there's anything praiseworthy, meditate on these things. The things which you have learned and received and heard and saw in me, these do, and the God of peace will be with you." I do really enjoy decorating my house, and I love cleaning. I know I'm a crazy person, but sometimes I have to recenter myself on what's important. Make sure the intention of my heart is right. Make sure I'm not going to one extreme or the other, being lazy and not caring, or going overboard and trying to be too perfectionistic and not focusing on the people who are actually coming into my home. All right, let's move on to functionality. Functionality is just anticipating the things your guests might need to normally do life. What are the normal things they might need while they're in your home? You want to make sure that they have access to those things and that they come with ease as much as possible, especially if they're coming into your home for the first time. So starting with the entryway, so as guests enter, make sure they can walk in your house. I mean, just make sure there aren't a million shoes in front of the door. It's a basic thing, but as they walk in, it's nice for them to feel like there are no obstacles for them to get around. Another thing is purses. Make sure there are places for your women guests to put their purse. I mean, often we do have hooks by our front door, but if we're having a lot of ladies over, and I know a lot of people who do this, will immediately say either, "Oh, let me take your purse for you," and go put it in a bedroom, either your bedroom, a spare bedroom, whatever it may be, and you can let them know if you need your purse, it's in this bedroom. Or if there's hooks, you can hang your purse here. Let them know where they can put their stuff, because I know I've walked into places and I, have my purse and, you just don't know exactly, okay, where do I put it? Do I put it by the couch? Do I put it over here? Where is it not going to be in the way? You don't want people coming in to feel that. You want them to immediately know, hey, here's a spot for the thing that you have with you. Just like in your own home, you like to have a spot for your purse when you walk in your door. So think about that for your guests. Another thing is making sure that there is room in the fridge. Are they bringing something to your house? If there are people bringing something to your house, make sure your fridge is ready to handle it or freezer, if there's desserts, if there's those kinds of things. The last thing you want to do when people come over is to be in the middle of trying to prepare something or do something, and you're also trying to welcome your guests, and now you have to clean out your freezer to make room for the ice cream that you asked them to bring and you forgot to clean out your freezer. So try to think about those things ahead of time to have places for the things they might be bringing. So this kind of goes along with the purse thing. Another thing I like to do is give people a tour of our house. So if they've been to our house before, then I don't give a tour, obviously. But I always try to remind people who've been here before to make themselves at home. I will always say that, just welcome back, make yourselves at home. But you want your guests to also know where the bathroom is. I have been places where I haven't been shown, and then when I have to go, I'm trying to find the host. I'm trying to say, excuse me, do you know where the bathroom is? And some homes have more than one bathroom, and you don't know which one you can use. So it's really important to if you start with that, it will help you to be able to be free to host your people, to be able to chat and talk and be present, and to be able to get the things done you need to get done. It's just one less thing to think about. One topic that is a good thing to keep in mind, let's talk about pets. Okay. Me and my hubby have never had a pet. We have been married 19 years, and we have never had any pets. We talked about having pets when we first got married. But then because our lives have been so much travel and things like that, we've always just felt like it was never fair to any kind of pet to be in our lives. Now, that being said, we like dogs. I have nothing against cats except for I'm allergic to them, some more than others, and I never really know how it's going to affect me. Also depends on how people keep their homes. For me, a lot of hair, actually even a lot of dog hair affects me. I get like so allergic, my throat swells up and I can't breathe generally. So I bring allergy meds with me pretty much everywhere I go because I never know if I'm going to run into someone or we go to someone's house and if they're going to have a pet, then I need to be prepared. So these are good things to keep in mind. Are your guests allergic to animals? And if they are, it's great to, vacuum as much as you can, get the hair up, and to also not make your guests feel bad for being allergic. And remember that, and you might even want to keep allergy meds at your house just in case. That is just one aspect of pets. The other aspect is people might be afraid of your dog, especially do you have a really jumpy dog? Do you have a pet that jumps up on your lap? I mean, as much as someone loves dogs, they might not want your Great Danes sitting on their lap on the couch. So that is something to keep in mind. And don't be offended if people don't love your animals. Don't be offended. Some people are not animal people. And if you are hosting people and having them over, it's just a good idea to get a sense of where they're at. And, even with a dog, if you have a place you can put a dog, maybe they have children that are afraid. And it's just a good idea to keep in mind if someone's allergic or afraid, that you can remove the pet, maybe put them, outside, somewhere else, in another bedroom, shut off in another portion of the house, because your goal is to make your guests feel comfortable. And I know, coming from someone who doesn't have anything against my friends' pets, but I have felt anxious at homes when I walk in and I see a ton of hair, just cat hair, and a cat jumps up, on a armchair or something. And then I'm, met with this and I didn't know, and I take allergy meds, but sometimes even that doesn't help as much as I hope. Just make a plan for your pets with your guests coming. Again, just keeping your guests in mind. Bathroom basics. Okay. Toilet paper check. Does the bathroom that your guests are coming in have toilet paper? Does it have toilet paper, another roll, visible? Have you ever been in someone's house and you use that little last bit of toilet paper and you think, oh man, and now you're all of a sudden looking around trying to find toilet paper, and oh my gosh, what if you cannot find toilet paper? So you don't want your guests to feel this stress when they're at your house. You want them to easily be able to see another roll and grab it. And if you have a big gathering, you might want to keep checking the bathroom to make sure there continues to be enough toilet paper visible and available to your guests. I have a really funny story. So when my hubby and I were not first dating, but when we were dating, we worked in an acrobatic show down in San Diego called Cirque de la Mer. And there was a house that a bunch of the acrobats were all renting together, and they were having a get together. And so we went, and I felt so loved and welcome, and there was lots of food and drinks, and everybody was so warm and welcoming. And I head into the bathroom and to sit down and go to the bathroom, and I go to the bathroom and look, and there's no toilet paper. 0 toilet paper. Now, the main owners of this rental were these Russian male acrobats that we know and love. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't even check. So I dig in my purse, I find some tissues, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Now I see some newspaper on the ground, but I'm thinking, okay, that's like their reading material. So I, crisis averted. I had tissues in my purse. I go out and I let them know, hey, just to let you know, you're out of toilet paper. And they said, oh no, we use the newspaper. That's right. They use the newspaper. So anyway, I'm glad I didn't have to use the newspaper, but, and that is kind of an extreme thing. I don't know anyone else. That's never happened to me again. But, again, just, you don't want your guests like finding your magazines and ripping pieces off because that's the only thing that they can find. We will move on from that because that's kind of gross, but it is an important thing to keep in mind. Also, room spray. Do have room spray or candle lit in the bathroom because you could be very self-conscious especially if the food that you're serving is notorious for making people be smelly. I know if you're in someone's house and you go to the bathroom and you feel like it smells bad, that is so like overwhelming. You're like, oh shoot, oh my gosh, it smells so bad. I'm so sorry. So I think it's nice for your guests to have a room spray, or like I said, I often just keep a candle going so that the room just has like a constant scent in there. But it is a good thing to keep in mind. And then hand soap, of course, make sure there's hand soap. Here we are after 2020, like wash your hands all the time. So really hand soap. We need hand soap in the bathroom. So just make sure you have that available. And another good tip, so when we have a lot of guests, and this is actually a tip that my sweet girlfriend Nicole, that I learned from her at some of her bigger gatherings, she does these disposable hand towels that they're not super expensive to get. But what's great is if you're having a lot of people, a hand towel can get wet and then people can't dry their hands. So it is a great idea to use these little disposable hand towels. You can get these little containers that hold them and stick it on the side of the sink. You can even just stack them on the side of your sink. They have really cute ones, themed ones. You can get them on Amazon. I can link them in the show notes. But that would be another good tip if you're having a lot of people. And even if you're not having a ton of people, I try to keep an eye on our hand towel to make sure it's not getting so wet that people don't have a place to dry their hands. Okay, let's move on to the kitchen. So like we just talked about in the bathroom, soap, and a place to dry your hands. I cannot tell you, and I'm not going to name any names, how many times I've been in a kitchen and I'm looking and I've washed my hands because I've helped prepare something, and I've washed my hands and I'm looking around going, do they have a hand towel anywhere? Is there paper towels? And I don't see it. So then you kind of awkwardly wipe your hands on your pants or your dress or whatever. But I think it's important to just make sure you have those things visible so that you don't have to then go, oh yeah, there's a hand towel in this drawer. Don't make your guests ask. Have these things available. Also, the other thing with having dish towels visible is if you're having a big gathering and you have a guest that, bless their heart, wants to help do your dishes, do you really want them to not do your dishes if they don't see a hand towel? I mean, just, making things accessible for your guests, especially guests who want to be helpful, is so important. Even having preset serving dishes and tools. So if someone's bringing a cake or a whatever, and you know that you have a dish that you're going to put it in, or a friend said, hey, I'm bringing spinach artichoke dip. Do you have a bowl I can use? Just to kind of anticipate that if you're doing other things in the kitchen or trying to welcome more guests that are coming in, having things out and available means you don't have to go digging through your cabinets to grab the thing for your guests. Also, you want to have your dishwasher unloaded. I know it's mind-blowing, but have your dishwasher totally clean and clear. If you have a dishwasher, we haven't always had a dishwasher, so we've had to manage that with large gatherings more times than I can count. But currently we have a dishwasher, so I like to keep it free and clear of anything before anyone comes over. And then if you're having dinner, you can put all your plates directly in the dishwasher. I have a very small kitchen, so I don't have a ton of space to put stuff. Especially if I already have food and things like that out. So I really try to think ahead to, okay, once we're done with dinner, then I can put the plates in the dishwasher, and then now there's room for me to pull out the dessert plates for later. And then when the dessert plates are done, you can easily pop them in the dishwasher. So make sure your dishwasher's unloaded. Trash can. Let's talk about trash can. Is your trash can small? Is your trash can visible? Even lately, I've been noticing a lot of friends who have had kitchens redone recently. A lot of people are having the drawer trash cans, so they look like your cabinets. They're hidden inside of your cabinets. It's still, even though the handle is turned and it should be pretty visible, it'd be great to even just, you could even put a little Post-it note on it saying trash. If you're having a lot of people over, a small trash can probably isn't going to cut it. You might want to locate another area that can have a trash can outside or whatever, so that trash doesn't build up. And you certainly don't want your trash can full when your guests come over. You want it empty so that, or any trash can you have, your bathroom trash cans, your kitchen trash can, anywhere you have a trash can, you want them empty and ready so that nobody has to open your trash can and then realize, oh shoot, it's full. I don't know where to put this. Okay, I guess I'll just set it on the counter. You want your guests to have knowledge of where to put things. That is just another aspect of functionality. Phone chargers, that is another great thing to keep in mind. You don't have to have every kind of phone charger available. People have different kinds of phones, but at the very least, if you have your type of phone charger available and somewhere accessible for your guests to be able to use, that really makes a huge difference. Also, having even just a plug available, if your only free plug is behind your couch and you are going to have, several guests, plug in an extension cord and have something ready so that guests, if they say, hey, can I charge my phone? You not having to move your couch to get to a plug, or your guests aren't having to search for a place to plug their phones in. Also, have your Wi-Fi code available. So I would say, one of the things I do, so I print out on my computer, I just print out the Wi-Fi code and I put it in a little frame, and you can get a cheap frame from dollar store or whatever. It doesn't even have to be perfect. I mean, it could even be a printed out piece of paper that you just fold and have out in a visible space. And when someone says, hey, what's your Wi-Fi code? You say, oh, it's right there. And then they can look at it. I don't know how many times I've been places and I've seen both sides actually. I've been places where people think, oh, I don't know what my Wi-Fi code is. And then they're going back in their office, they're craning their neck, they're trying to write it down. This is just another good thing to keep in mind, and it will help your guests to feel welcome and be able to function. Marking your drink locations is another good idea. Do you have an ice chest that's outside that has drinks in it? Does this ice chest have beers and this one have waters in it? Mark it. And I'd actually also suggest that you keep the alcoholic beverages separate from the non-alcoholic beverages if you are having children, because you do not want the adults to be talking and chatting and doing their thing, and then the kids, go grab a Truly or something like that. So you just want to make sure that things are clearly marked. And if you mark what is in what place and let your guests know when they come over, when you're giving your tour, then you don't have to keep getting drinks for people or keep answering questions if you let them know ahead of time. Hey, we've got water right here. We've got this over here. Please help yourself. It just frees you up to be able to be in the moment and be spending time with your guests. I'm actually a huge fan of labeling things. Decaf coffee, caffeinated coffee. If you have gluten-free guests coming and you have a plate of crackers that are gluten and a plate of crackers that are gluten-free, you, again, don't want to have to be going back and keep re-explaining what is what. It is really easy, and especially now, if you don't know what Canva is, Canva has templates for pretty much everything, and I often, for labeling food and things, food, drinks, anything, I use a business card size label, and I just go and type in, gluten-free crackers or decaf coffee or hot chili, mild chili, whatever it may be, and I can print it out on just regular paper, and then it's the perfect size. They make these cute little tiny labels, and you can just fold them in half, cut them, fold them in half, and stick them out wherever you need labels, or tape them with clear tape onto things. It is an easy, cheap way to make sure your guests know where to find things. Seating is another area of functionality. Do you have elderly guests coming? Do you have children coming? Do you have the appropriate seating for those people? How many people are coming? Where are you planning to eat? These are just things to think about. One time we pulled out these outdoor chairs that we had, and they were kind of the director style with fabric in them. Well, they had spent a couple of summers out, and the fabric had worn significantly, and to my chagrin, I had no idea how bad. And we literally had a guest sit in one, and it ripped, which is horrible. You do not want that to happen to your guests. It makes them feel bad, and I'm glad they didn't get hurt, because that would be even worse. But so ever since then, I just really try to make sure my seating is functional for what I want. Sometimes I've done a baby shower here for my nephew, and we had a lot of kids come, and we actually, because I knew we wouldn't have enough seating, like actual seats for that many children, we put out a picnic blanket and a little umbrella over it so that it was shaded, and then I put crayons and coloring books and stuff like that on the blankets, and so the kids knew this was their space, and then it was also a good space for them to come and sit and eat. And they were then able to kind of be in the same area we all were, but it was their space. So just be mindful. This chair that if you're watching the video, I'm sitting at my dining room table, and these chairs are tall. They're really tall. Do you have short guests that will not be able to get up on these chairs? Do you have elderly guests that you won't be able to get up on your tall chairs? These are things to think about. So seating is important, very important. And really, that's basically it. So the other thing to keep in mind is that don't beat yourself up. If you forget some of these things, just address it and move on. The art of being a good hostess is something that you develop over time, and having people over and learning even different homes. I know for us, our different houses that we've lived in over the years have had different challenges in terms of hosting people. And so I have had to learn and adapt as we have moved around and been in different places. So it's okay. Don't beat yourself up. But just if you think about these things ahead of time, you'll likely enjoy your guests a lot more and not feel quite so overwhelmed when you are hosting. At the end of the day, you just want your guests to feel loved and welcome. Jesus always made anyone around him feel loved and welcome. And as Christians, that is what we want to do, and we just want to pass that on. I want to close with scripture from Titus 1:8, and it is Paul talking to Titus. He sent a letter, and these are instructions for the elders of the church, but I just love this scripture in terms of even for us as believers to walk in towards the people in our home. Rather, he must enjoy having guests in his home. He must love what is good. He must live wisely and be just. He must live a devout and disciplined life. And some of the other translations said they must be hospitable. So this is hospitality. This is what it means. It doesn't mean be perfect. It doesn't mean that it's this thing that is so hard to achieve. Anyone can do it. God's given you the tools to love on the people that he's placed in your life. And these tools and tips can hopefully help you to not feel overwhelmed, be a little prepared ahead of time. And when you're focused on the important things, then you don't get quite so overwhelmed by the things that don't matter as much. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you have gotten some encouragement in terms of hosting people in your home. I have one more part in this series, a third part that I'm going to talk about sustenance and activities. So that will be coming out in a few weeks. So keep your eye out for it. Thank you again for joining me. Love you guys. Okay, all you housewives, that's it for today. I'm truly grateful you joined us. If you know anyone who would be encouraged by this episode, you can easily share it by taking a screenshot and adding it to your stories or feed. You can also text it to a friend. New episodes are uploaded every other Friday. Be sure to subscribe so you can catch them all. You can find and interact with me on Facebook and Instagram at Married Rogers Neighborhood, as well as my website, which I linked in the show notes. If you enjoyed our conversation today, it helps so much if you could take a second to rate and give a 5-star review. It really makes a huge difference for me and the podcast. Just remember, we are in this together. God loves you, and you are not alone. See you next time.